before we get started in this topic, just want to ask for people in the audience, right? Who here is planning on traveling either for this Thanksgiving or for this holiday season? Just by a show of hands. Anyone traveling? Right? Okay. Now, out of those people, who here has that feeling of like homesickness, of like, oh man, I should have just stayed at home. Home's a lot more comfy. Does anyone feel that sometimes? A few people, right? And a lot of times, when we think about that, our first intuition is just like, oh, why? Just because it's home, right? Just it's my home. But I'm here for this sermon to say that it's something a little bit more than that, right? That that feeling of homesickness, that feeling of wanting to know what things are around you, right? That's something more. And so today's topic is talking a little bit about community, right? Now, when we first think about community, our first intuition is just that, oh, it's just the people that live near me, right? It's maybe like my neighbors, right? It might be just the city that I live in, right? But community means a lot more than that. Now, when people talk about that idea of homesickness, right? What is it that drives people to go back home? What drives it so that whenever we go to unfamiliar places, whenever we leave places that we know, what is it that drives us to go back? And it's honestly the small things. It's about the things that we can remember, about like those little small bits of knowledge that create this idea of familiarity. So for example, right, at your house, you know where the light switches are, right? You don't have to ask anyone, hey, do you know where the restroom is in my house? Because it's your house. And on top of that, right, and this is more of a personal thing, the nearby Chipotle on Halloween, they had a deal. They had a bowl, and it was $6. And I had never seen that in years, right? I don't know if has anyone gone to Chipotle recently. Their bowls are like $10. That's crazy. It's so expensive, and I love Chipotle. So when I heard that, it was like, oh, the Chipotle bowls are $6. Man, I went absolutely nuts. But these small bits of knowledge, right? These small wins, these small things of knowing where the light switch is, right? These all create that sense of familiarity, right? It all creates that sense of what makes our home home. And the only way that we can build familiarity, the only way that we can build a sense of home is through community. And community, in essence, builds familiarity in our lives. Now, kind of going off of that, right, when we think of community, we think of it a lot of times as, oh, it's just the people around us, right? And as I said earlier, it's like, oh, I know where the light switches are in my house. But community doesn't have to just be the people around you. It doesn't necessarily have to mean like the grocery store around you either, right? Like for example, right here, just out of curiosity, right, how many people drove here to get to church, right? Most people did, right? Did people have to drive an hour 30, 2, a whole ocean for the missionaries? I'm guessing you guys didn't drive. Please don't drive in the ocean. But in essence, right, all of us gathered here today, right, we have created a community, right? And I want to say, like, I'll give yourselves a round of applause for coming here, right, building that community, right? Now, how this community operates, right, and no community can stand without its people, right? And so each and every single person that has devoted their time, right, their gas, right, and just their willingness to come here, right? That's what creates community. That's what makes community so important, right? Because it's a bunch of individuals who are taking the time, making their individual effort, right, to be something greater, right? And I'm guessing, right, when it comes to church and stuff, right? Church is fine when it's just like a few people, right? But church is better when there's many. Right? Church is better when you can see a full audience. Church is better when we do meet and greets, right? And you can actually greet people instead of greeting the air, right? I'm assuming. I hope that's a true statement. But these are very critical parts of a community that make it so special. And so, in kind of going off of that, church cannot exist without community. Now, True Father and I think True Mother, when they compiled their thoughts together in the Cheonsongyeong, they talk about something called Tongban. And Tongban is kind of this idea of your family as a unit and then your community as a unit, right? Now, in his talkings, right, and from the interpretation that he was mentioning, that family is used to create like a school of love, right? You learn love, you learn how to be with others through your family. But then what is the role of community? The role of community is to build a culture, right? Community is used to show you what is out there, what's in the world, right? What makes it so that you belong, right? And in the family, right, every person in a family belongs in their family. But in a community, right, that's how you can belong to the world, right? That's how you can really make a meaningful difference in how you interact with others and how people see you. Now, as I said earlier, right, community doesn't have to mean that you, like just the people around you, right? We have people like who drive so far away and come here to spend their time and effort, right, towards a similar shared value of being present, of making that community. And let's see, right? And community, we take so much time and we constantly like block our definition of it into thinking that, oh, it's just the people that are around me. Anyone that's not around me, right? Anyone that is kind of outside this like sort of like geographic limit that we have, right? That's not my community, right? But here, right, with the people that are here, we know that that is wrong. We know that community can go so much further. Community can go so much further than just the people around us. Community can go beyond geographic borders. It can go beyond social borders, right? And that's a big part of what makes us a community. And I think at the end, I think I'm talking a lot. I think the biggest thing is that when it comes to this idea of community, right? Community does not have to mean that every person has the exact same value coming into it. But what community can mean is that everyone has a shared space for those values, right? We gather here, right? Not necessarily just to hear one person speak and to say, oh, that person is right, and we're just going to follow exactly that. But it's a chance to really ask ourselves, right? What are the values that I want to bring, right? What are the values that I want to express for my community, and how do I make that better? And the best communities out there are the communities where people's values are different. And whether that be that you believe that something like this is right or that is right, right? Community is where those ideas can happen, right? No amount of innovation, no amount of progress has come about through just one individual believing that they were always right. Every single time that progress is made, it's through communities. It's through being able to have that opportunity, that shared space to express your ideas, to be able to be challenged, right? And to have that shared space. And so I leave here today, and I want everyone to ask themselves, right? What communities do you want to be part of, right? What communities do you want to share your values in? We here, right, at this church, right, we have a lot of different interpretations of what we see as our own values, right? And right now, there's a lot of different opinions in our world that can really shape those values or potentially break them, right? But what's important is just these small bits of knowledge, right, of being able to gather here, of being able to see people and see them eye to eye and see that their values, right, mean just the same as yours. And so ending this, right, I want to thank you guys for being here, right, for being part of this community, for showing up and expressing your values here. And I hope that throughout this week, right, and throughout whenever you go about seeing other people, you ask yourself, what type of community do you want to be part of? What type of values do you want to share to others? And so that's my end. Thank you so much. Yeah.